there, and welcome to our card game activity called the Convergent deck building game. Many still believe that women can't pursue STEM careers or that these careers are only meant for men. However, history showed the opposite. In fact, even if historical and cultural bias has limited women's access to scientific education and opportunities for many years, often under shadows, many women have made major discoveries. We, as partners of Geeks for Education, want to close the gender gap in the field of STEM and encourage more girls, women, and youth to seize the opportunities created by the field. Thus, the Convergent deck building game is an enrichment tool showcasing many prominent women in STEM with their groundbreaking findings and achievements that lead to improving or even revolutionizing STEM disciplines. With this interactive card game, we want to expose young learners to women in STEM disciplines. We also want to inspire them, giving facts for both boys and girls that girls have the same abilities and opportunities in exploring and enhancing STEM. The format takes about 4 hours and includes a 30-minute introduction to the theme of STEM and women in STEM, using, for example, the quiz created by Wide as an icebreaker, or using only open discussion on the thematic with questions such as what is STEM, who do you know as a famous scientist, etc. It will be followed by a 15 minutes presentation of the card game and another 15-minute explanation about the gameplay. The game itself is expected to be played for around 2 hours. The game session should be followed by a 1-hour debriefing phase where the students can ask questions about some thematics or skills addressed in the card and/or role models chosen. This feedback session can be implemented directly during the game if you, as educator, decide to take part in the game with the students. Then the time dedicated to play will be a little bit longer. This card game is played with 2 to 5 players, and the goal of the game is for players to collect as many powerful cards as possible to defeat as many adversary cards as a player can. In the end, the player who has gathered the most points from gaining powerful cards through the central deck or by defeating adversary cards wins the game. The complete set consists of 132 cards with 7 different types of cards. First, the starter cards as a starting deck to buy more powerful cards. Then the STEM cards, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, with role models, skills, or tainted cards. Then adversary cards that are based on some global issues and challenges that need to be tackled. And finally, the intervention cards that are remedies for the tainted cards that can be found in the STEM cards. You can also note that the color of the cards can help in distinction. Now that we have presented the game, let's show how to set up the game and start to play. Let's start with setting up the starter cards of the game. The starter cards are the gray ones. They are 10 different types of starter cards, 7 with 1 power and 3 without power. Each player will receive 10 starter cards, i.e. 1 of each type. Once you have 5 piles of cards with 10 starter cards, you need to shuffle these 10 cards so that they are not in the same order as the other players. All that left is to give each player a pile of cards. Then you have to put in place the central deck and the lineup. Take all the STEM, engineering, mathematics, science, technology, and the intervention cards and shuffle them together several times. Once the central deck has been created, draw 5 cards and place them face up to create the lineup. Finally, all that remains is for the adversary cards to be placed on the table. These cards are placed face up. Take all the adversary cards, always placing the alien ultimatum last and the gender inequality first. All the cards in between must be shuffled and then placed on the top of alien ultimatum. And finally, gender inequality placed back as said before on the top. Now let's move on to the game content and particularly the gameplay. The first choice the player will have to make is which gender are they going to represent during the play. This version of the game represents only the binary gender of being a girl or a boy. This will have an impact on the way the game can be played, which you will find out in a due course. To be the winner of this card game, you have to end the game with the most powerful deck possible. But how do we build it? We therefore have 10 face-down starter cards, which we have shuffled beforehand. To create our hand, we will draw 5 cards. As these are starter cards, they cost nothing, as the yellow gear is at 0. But what interests us the most is the text part, in bold, where our powers are written. In this hand, the first 3 cards have 1 power each, the last 2 have none. We therefore have 3 powers, which will allow us to acquire cards with a cost of 3 or less available in the lineup. In this case, the only card that can be acquired is the one with a cost of 2. We then take our entire hand and the acquired card and discard everything face up. We complete the lineup so that it always consists of 5 cards, then it's the next person's turn. Again, draw 5 cards in your hand. See how much power is available in these new 5 cards. Buy a card or multiple cards from the lineup and discard all your hand. And so ever and so forth. When you don't have cards to draw from anymore, take your discard pile, shuffle it, and it becomes your new pile face down. One way to end the game is to beat all the adversary cards. These are very powerful cards, which player will want to have in their deck because they bring a lot of points. The game continues, the player's deck gets bigger, and the 5-card hands follow each other. In the lineup here, there is a tainted card, which will have the effect of bringing advantage to players who have chosen the male sex. In contrast, there are intervention cards, which reverse the advantage, this time granting it to the players who have identified as a female. The cards in the hand here grant 2 powers, 2 powers, 3 powers, and 2 powers, giving a total of 9 powers, which will enable the first adversary card to be fought. There will be an exchange with the other players, or more precisely, a negotiation in which a mutual agreement is sought to recover the card. In other words, in this case, the player will have to convince the other players that his or her cards are capable of defeating the gender inequality issue by telling a short story based on the cards in his or her hand. For the card game to be over, players have to beat all the adversary cards, or there should be no cards left in the lineup and the central deck. The winner will be determined by counting the number of points. The player with the most points is the winner. This game can be included in the civic education, sciences, physics, mathematics, or history curriculum as a short module to foster discussions around privilege and gender issues, and also to counter the lack of female representation in STEAM subjects at school. The game activates literacy competencies as it requires players to read the cards to activate their ability. Players will also repeat the card's ability to the other players when it comes to play during their turn. If they find some words and sentences that are not clear to them, the other players can have a discussion and help each other in understanding the card content. Regarding the STEM competencies, the cards in the game are built based on STEM role models and skills. It is a way to discover new jobs, skills, and domains linked to STEM and learn more about women who've made history in these fields. In the process of defeating the adversary card, the game aims to reveal the importance of STEM competencies in solving the world's problems. It also has an impact on personal, social, and learning to learn skills with the notion of self confidence while negotiating, public speaking, and persuasion skills to be developed while playing. Finally, this game also has an impact on cultural awareness and expression as it develops an open attitude to diversity in STEM. The format considers unmotivated and inattentive learners who sometimes struggle to follow the class, as the game provides an interactive teaching style and a student-centered learning. Thus, it increases students' engagement and motivation in class and learning. It wants to inspire learners to explore and enhance STEM skills because they are important and useful to be part of a change. This format has been implemented successfully with 50 students in Luxembourg and was very positively received by the young people, making them more curious about women scientists and starting discussions about their future career choices. Well, now it's your time to play the Convergent deck building game.